Civilization or Barbarism, an Authentic Anthropology by Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop. Chapter 13, Critical Review of the latest thesis on the AMP. The various approaches to the AMP in the collective work cited below are remarkable in many ways, but the authors all seem to have missed the essential point. In fact, in order to demonstrate the dynamism of the Western or slave societies, as opposed to the stagnation of the AMP societies, whose internal force was not strong enough to develop their fundamental contradiction to its dissolution, an edifying method would have been preferable. A more or less exhaustive description of the AMP is not enough. Here, the comparative method is a must. Whatever is comparable should be compared. By comparing the socio political evolution of a simple city or city state to that of a territorial state, grouping hundreds or even thousands of towns, the fundamental factor, i.e., the difference between the contexts, is neglected from the very start without realizing it. It is not difficult to see what is wrong with such an attitude because of the great difference in scale. The realities studied are no longer of the same nature. The ancient city had an ephemeral socio political form, essentially non viable, which disappeared after a brief existence of just 4 centuries and was replaced by the Roman state, Asiatic in exterior form and dimension. The Roman state inherited the cumulative effect of the slave system of the ancient city. It gave its classical legal forms to private property, to the merchant monetary economy, and to private slavery. Thus, all of the conditions theoretically predicted were present so that revolutionary transformations could take place starting from endogenous factors. However, for a half a millennium, the revolution did not take place. As soon as takes the state takes the Asiatic form, whatever the tenor of its institutions, revolution becomes impossible, as in the other authentic AMP states. This general law has no exception from the beginning of history, 3300 BCE in Egypt, up to modern times. In the 17th century in Holland and in England. This total failure of revolution in antiquity from the moment that the state takes on the Asiatic form obliges us to reevaluate the relative importance of the factors in the theory of revolutions. Yet, none of the authors cited below has formulated the problem in such clear terms. They were not moved by the failure of the Roman Revolution that continued for 500 years, despite the existence of the most ferocious slave system that man has ever invented. They have thrown a discreet veil over the Roman stagnation instead of comparing it to the stagnation of the AMP states in order to try to develop the sociology of revolutions on more objective, more scientific, and less ethnocentric foundations. On the way, they forgot the essential purpose of their theories to show in what way a slave society of the Roman type was more revolutionary than the AMP societies, and then to explain the fundamental contradiction of Roman society, namely why antiquity's most dynamic society and its most revolutionary one, because it was a slave society, did not make revolution. Why were all the attempts at revolts easily suppressed as soon as the society adopted the Asiatic model? We'll stop there and continue back on chapter 13 of Civilization or Barbarism. I'm Uriel Riley. Hi, sir.